Good morning. Happy Friday to you. Hope you're having a great start to your day. So the other day on Facebook, I had asked if anybody had any real estate questions pertaining to the Cleveland market, pertaining to anything in general, actually, right? And Maddie had asked, is shit crashing yet? And I feel like this question I've been getting a lot recently, and it's definitely from buyers who are trying to figure out when the right time to buy is going to be versus sellers trying to figure out how they can predict and time the market. So, Maddie, to answer your question simply, is shit crashing yet? The answer is no. And I probably don't see anything too crazy happening for probably the next 18 months or so. There's a variety of reasons and a variety of factors that go into this, and there's a perception out there that this real estate bubble, this real estate market is very much like what things were in 2006 and 2007 before things crashed in 2008 and 2009. So the long and short answer is what we see today is vastly different than what happened before. What happened before was an economic collapse of the banking system here locally in the United States and trickled down nationally or internationally as different banks kind of crashed, right? So that did was that took a lot of jobs. People lost jobs. They couldn't pay their mortgage, things of that nature. So that's what started the whole foreclosure crisis and the economic collapse that the millennial generation had seen their parents go through. What we see today in today's market that's causing this housing shortage is a combination of a lack of homes to buy because of lack of new home construction decreasing, as well as artificially low interest rates that the federal government has kind of given us. So talking about the housing, the lack of new construction. What if you look at historical trends of new construction the last 20 years or so, you will see a national average has declined. So the reason being is the baby boomer generation, America's largest demographic, America's largest generation. They're all starting to retire, and we saw a housing boom because of them. There was more of them, so there was more land, there were more homes. So as they started to grow their families and retire, they're selling their houses. And the millennial generation that I spoke of earlier, who saw their parents a lot of so the older millennials started graduating and entering the job market, '06, '07, 2008, 2009. So your older millennials have all experienced that. Your younger millennials that are just entering the market have stayed with their parents, so they weren't buying the your starter home, so they stayed with mom and dad. So you're now seeing what's this millennial generation is the largest generation in America right now. There's more of them than there were baby boomers, and there's not enough houses. So as the new construction has declined over the years, you have this millennial generation who's now starting to enter the market to buy houses. This generation isn't buying your starter house between 100 $200,000. They've stayed with mom and dad, and they're buying that move up house. They're buying that $300,000 or $400,000 house. So then you have the people that had bought the $150,000 to $250,000 house looking to buy that $250,000 to $400,000 house. There's now more competition because that entry level buyer is no longer entry level. They're going right in. They're going right into that forever house. So you have those two factors playing there. You also have these ridiculously low interest rates. So in a traditional market, your average interest rate should be between 4% and 6%. I have a buyer who just got pre-approved at 2.86%. So you have those folks that are like, well, I can buy a $300,000 house traditionally at 5%. Your mortgage payment's going to be somewhere around $1,500. But when that mortgage payment now at 2.86% is around $1,200, the house is now substantially more affordable. So you have those folks that are like, why would I ever, so they're saving their money, getting ready to go into the market and do those things, and they're able to buy more house today at a lower interest rate. So you have that. You also have folks that are looking to refinance. So the folks that are looking to refinance are the lower end baby boomers, and they're the folks that are kind of like right in the gap of the baby boomer. They're probably in their they're early to mid 40s, and they're not going anywhere, right? So they're refinancing, and they're refinancing in the low threes, in the low threes, mid to high twos. They're never going to sell their house now. So what we're seeing is this whole thing is artificially inflated, but it's artificially inflated in a way that it's not going to collapse like we saw in 2008, 2009. So is today the best time to buy a house? It 100% is. And it goes back to the interest rate. If you bought a house in 2009, you probably bought a house with an interest rate somewhere around 3.5 or 4%. That was the bottom, right? That was when the market bottomed out. Well, today, in the strongest real estate market anybody has ever seen in the United States, you can get a rate below 3%. Are you going to pay a little bit more? You might, depending on where you buy, depending on what you're looking at. Yes, you might pay more. However, buying a house today, you're going to pay less today than you will tomorrow. The reason being is because what you're going to see is home appreciation is appreciating on an average of 10% or more, depending on where you're at. So the house you buy today in October is going to be worth 10% more on average, right? It's not a fixed thing. On average is going to be about 10% more. And you're going to pay less today because of interest rates. My opinion, today's the best time to buy a house. My family and I, we moved. We moved in May. The house, so we moved in May and we paid X for our house. 5, 6 houses down, just transferred for $95,000 more than we paid for our house. If we would have waited, we would have paid more, right? So you look at it like, when is this shit going to crash? The answer is probably going to be 18 plus months. And the best time to buy a house is today. I don't know if that answers the question that you were directly looking, Maddie, and other folks. But if you're serious about wanting to buy a house, capitalize on today's interest rates. Reach out to me. You want to start this process. I got lenders that out there, that have ridiculously low interest rates, that have really low fees, that can get you pre-approved in minutes and get you into a house. This is the time to buy a house, because tomorrow it's going to cost you more. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. I hope this was valuable. I hope you understand a little bit more about the historical reasons, about why we're at where we're at. So have a great Friday. And if you have any questions, shoot me a DM. Shoot me a message. I'd be happy to have a conversation with you offline. Have a great day, everybody.